Hello my lovely ravens, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today we're making another matchbox. I put a poll up about a week and a half ago and the matchbox is what came out. Some of you also opted as a second option for a thrift store makeover. However, right now it's very hard to find good stuff at thrift stores, so that has to wait for a little while longer. As you can see, we're starting with the base that I make myself. You can find all the dimensions in the description box below if you want to make your own. I am starting by slanting the roof that needs to be like so, and then gluing that down and then covering that with some corrugated cardstock. This matchbox is a little bit different from the ones I have already made, and this is number 33, so I made quite a few so far. I try to do something different with every matchbox that I make, the way that it opens, if it's horizontal or vertical. And this one is kind of split up in two houses, but then the left one only will open, but there will still be windows and a door on the right hand side as well. Some of you might know this, I have already made Spinner's End or Snape's sitting room in his home in 12th scale on my channel. I will leave a link in the description box below. I absolutely love that one, and it's one of my favorite miniatures so far. Here I have a very thin piece of acetate. I am just going to sand that down on very fine grit paper and make the windows so they are a little bit frosted. Now, the windows for this matchbox are also a little bit different. So I've drawn them out on the front. Then I'm cutting out all the frames for the doors and windows, put the acetate behind it, and that I put all of that on top of the brown outside. This is a new way for me of doing the windows. Normally you can see through it, but I don't think it was necessary in this case because the windows that I saw in my reference photo are very dark and gloomy, so I thought this would be fine. I'm putting a piece of skewer here on the side just to stabilize the matchbox a little bit because this is going to be the closed part. Then cutting the cover right down the center so I can glue down the part on the right and have the left open with magnets. I am using Gorilla Wood Glue for most of the parts that I glue down here, and this is the inside divider wall that is going to go in now. And here you can see the placement of the 1, 2, 3 magnets that I put inside. And that clips on like so. This is a divider floor, and then we're getting on to painting the miniature. So I start with a very light gray for the roof. The roof, like I mentioned before, is corrugated cardstock that I flattened a little bit. And then I started drawing out all these bricks with these pencils. And even though it looks okay, I wasn't happy with how it was looking. So I decided just to paint all over it and then fill it in with paint anyway. With some chalk pastel pencil, I add some lines where I want the shadows to be and then dust that out with a brush. With a sand kind of color, I'm adding some highlights to the roof, and with a brown, I'm adding some floorboards. It's just acrylic paint to the inside of the matchbox. Because I used a skewer on the side as well to put the magnet on, The floor is a little bit elevated, so I'm adding another piece of cardstock or cardboard and then a piece of cardstock over it, and then painting that again with the brown acrylic paint, just so it's a little bit elevated and not in a weird shape, so it doesn't really look like a living room. Here I am constructing a bookcase. I'm starting with this U kind of shape that fits in right like so, and then I can construct it outside of the matchbox so it's easier to put together and also to fill it with books, because we cannot do a Snape living room without books, of course. When I made the matchbox Flourish and Bloods, I cut up a lot of books, and this is the leftovers of that matchbox. So I didn't have to cut any books. This is just cardstock, or very thick cardboard rather, almost chipboard. And these are just tiny little books that I eventually also painted over, so they look like this. And now I can just slide this whole unit inside the matchbox. On the second floor, I wanted to have a bedroom, so I'm making a little bed here, just the headboard, then the mattress base and the foot end, and then I'm painting it, and I am putting pillows on top of it with just chipboard, just cutting them out of chipboard, then painting them white, and then putting a little piece of cotton on top for the sheets. Of course, we need a little dresser, so I am just putting two pieces of chipboard together and then putting these long rectangular pieces of cardstock over it, and then a larger piece for the top. And this is also almost how I make the fireplace as well, just it has an open front. Then painting the fabric, and one of the fabric offcuts beige. So that can be a rug. I cut it way too big, so I'm actually halving this again to make it fit. And this is the little fireplace. And now it's time to put everything together. I also made a little mirror, as you can see here, and the bed, and just putting everything inside the matchbox. I also made a little chair, and yeah, let's have a look what it all looks like. And this is it for the final result for Matchbox 33. I really like how this turned out, especially the sitting area with the large bookshelves. I've been really wanting to start a new series of non-Harry Potter related videos. It has something to do with a massive tree and cats, where I will add on to over time and build from scratch. So I hope you'll be excited for that too. It is something you can follow along to, so get your supplies ready. All my social media can be found in the description box below, and if you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and of course become part of my Raven family. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!